All right, we're going to be doing a Bleach Soul Resonance tier list. I hope you guys are enjoying the Bleach videos. Plan to do a lot more. Real quick, going to do a couple CTAs. So I'm going to be streaming very soon. Probably by the time this video is out, I'm going to be like 10 minutes away, 20 minutes from streaming. Also, follow the Twitter. We're posting as much info as we can. So if you want like to not watch videos for news, check out the Twitter account. And finally, I also have a Discord account. Discord server, I should say, for Bleach Soul Resonance. We're going to be talking about CN and Global in here, trying to update for both versions, and also there will be leaks if you do want the leaks. So join that. You'll see a bunch of future info. So for now, the leaks will be there until I'm told not to leak. So to explain the tiers, we got Apex and Meta as like the main units you're going to be using. Now, tier 1 are still very good. I don't want people to think it's not good. Like these units are good replacements. That's the way I see them. Not many units are in tier 0. So it's like tier 1 are units you're going to be using instead of someone in tier 0.5. And then tier 2 and 3 are like, they're all right. You could use them. You could use anyone in this game, right? That's the thing. If you're able to like parry perfectly, dodge perfectly, do your rotations perfectly, you could really use anyone. And I mean, yeah, listen, we haven't had a lot of time with this game. Like I've played 2 betas. Probably I've played this game over 50 hours at this point, but it's like, it was in like combined periods. So we didn't get like extremely far. And I didn't play the beta in July, which I think was a bit longer. So I played the one in March and October. Or September. I don't even know when the SEA one was. Anyway, I would say stick to using units in these 3 categories, but using some in tier 2 or tier 3 is not the end of the world. So we're gonna go top down and start with Bankai Ichigo. So I do think that Ichigo is definitely the best DPS in the game. In terms of everything, he has a very good basic attack, and he has a basic attack that, if you do the right rotation, goes into kind of a charged attack. A flurry of attacks essentially, and then he has a very good skill which is very quick to use. So essentially you use the skill and you could bring it into the charged attack, and it does, well, obviously good damage. And then the ult is basically a transform state which resets your cooldowns, more damage, and then you have a big ult. So it's like a large nuke of a Getsuga, and it does good damage, let me tell you that. And then of course his passives, we don't really need to talk about them in depth, but they do give him extra damage overall. I do like these types of, if you have too much crit rate, well, it's going to become crit damage. I think these types of things are quite nice. So, you know, that's the first tier 0 unit, and the other one, in my opinion, is Kisuke. So why I think Kisuke is really good, and why I would like to say pretty much everyone thinks Kisuke is really good, is mainly because he's very quick to go in and get out. Right? That's the thing. So it's like basically he comes in, uses his E, uses his slash attacks. I think it's this one that you could call it, right? Use like his like kind of slash charged attack. And then afterwards you ult and you swap off. Or you could technically start with the ult and go into like your skill and then use your slash. And basically you're going to be able to get your ult extremely quick with this unit. He's going to give very good support, give crit damage, and then he has some damage boosts in his passive. So he's very good in terms of also grouping units up with a vortex. So he's doing a lot of different things in terms of supporting. And what I think with these supports, especially because he's good with Ichigo as they're both red, I would definitely say since Ichigo takes a lot of time on field, Kisuke works very equally good with Ichigo, because Kisuke doesn't need much time on field where Ichigo takes a lot of time on field. And also I'm pretty sure his support, 25-second support on that, 15-second, right? It's definitely good, right? Attack increase. I think he also gives a damage increase alongside a crit damage increase. So yeah, these are the 2 units you're going to see in a lot of tier lists being on the top of the meta. Now, I don't like having too many people in tier 0, or like, I guess in this case, I would say this is SS, SA, BC, or you could say SAB. It doesn't matter. I just use Pride when tiering, so this is kind of what I'm used to. So we're going to start with tier 0.5. I'm going to specify if it's a DPS or a support. We're going to put the DPS in the front. So Ikkaku, very good. Actually, very, very good. This guy basically revolves himself around having a Bankai ult, so a transformation ult, and doing very good damage, right? He has a pretty strong nuke, but keep in mind, this is half of Ichigo's, which is kind of crazy, and doing bleed, right? So that's another thing where he's going to be doing some pretty good bleed damage, and it's going to increase his other damage. So I do think that overall it's quite nice. And if you're in an AoE setting, also what is cool, as you can see here, he's going to get ult points or ult charge every time he actually does defeat an enemy. And yeah, I mean, he has crit damage, so this is actually really good because it allows you to build maybe a more crit rate centered build or an attack centered build. And why you would do an attack centered build is because bleed, I don't know where does it show the bleed? Pretty sure it's 3%. Sorry, here it is. Injured, bleed, just translation difference. Essentially, you could get a 60% attack per second with 30 stacks, 2% attack dealt per bleed stack. So essentially, right, with a higher attack stat, you're going to be able to go crazy in terms of actually having damage every second. 60% every second is pretty good as extra. I'm pretty sure it also does work off field, so that is something to keep in mind. Now, the other DPS would in fact be Yoruichi, the GOAT. So she's great and all, but somehow she's probably the worst 5-star. Not saying she's bad, it's just I feel like in both cases, like I built up Ichigo and Yoruichi, mainly the red and orange team in the betas. And I'm not going to lie, she definitely didn't seem too strong. Now, of course, the comparison was Ichigo. And also, we are missing technically one 5-star for orange, right? Because look, they have two, blue has 0, and red has 3. So there is that comparison to be made. But basically, how this girl works, basic attacks, bop, 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 bop. Sure, very cool attack string. Then she builds up kind of, she also has a charged attack. Not everyone has a charged attack, and sometimes they're in different forms. But her unique gauge basically makes it that after using her skills, using her ult, she's going to get these charged attacks, right? And then through that, she's going to be getting this kind of dash charged attack where she like jumps, like her feet jump to the top of the screen, and then she attacks, right? So she's going to be doing a lot of things like that. Doing dodges, counters is going to be very strong for her. Her damage overall is just a bit lackluster, I'd say. Maybe, in my opinion, maybe it's two things. You need to be very precise with her gameplay. And also, well, she's not the same type of nuker as Ichigo, but I would like to say Ichigo feels more consistent to me. But still, very good. I think you could make the argument for tier 1, but personally, I'm not. Now, next up, Byakuya. Byakuya is very good. Very, very good. This guy is, I would like to say, my favorite sub DPS in the game, but maybe that's Kaname. I really like Kaname because he has a very nice and satisfying sound effect, but essentially he has an attack off field. These are the type of sub DPSs you have in game. Usually they make it very clear cut what exactly this unit's going to be for. And for Byakuya, it's usually attacks off field. So he has, I don't know how to read the wiki yet. I think, yeah, the field skill. So he's going to do damage off of it. And also increase damage. I think this is for red. I'm pretty sure. Could be a translation issue. But afterwards, when he's in his Bankai, he has basically another unique skill, which when he charges it up and he uses it, he could go off the field and then it's still going to do damage, right? It's kind of like a blast forward with the pedals, right? And then afterwards, he's able to do damage. So damage-wise, he's looking very good as a pretty nice sub DPS in my opinion. And since there is like damage boosts with him too, and like resistance lower, this guy is very good. I think you could make the argument for tier 0, but that would mostly be because of his teammates, right? Since Kisuke and Ichigo are, like, there is mono content and non-mono content. On mono content, I think this guy is like potentially tier 0, but it's not all mono content, so you could definitely make do with other units. And I do think there are good substitutes for Byakuya. So there is that. Now, next up, we've got Kaname. Kaname is very good. I really like how Kaname works. So he has a field skill, which I guess we're going to call it that. He has a field skill, and basically every time he uses it, shing, shing, shing. It's so fun. It's actually so fun. And he does apply bleed, so that is something else to consider. I think this will probably help out Ikkaku a bit. And yeah, there is a damage boost, right? 30% for my guess is yellow. I think it would be yellow, but was it? Yeah, that's yellow. That is yellow. So we'll have to see. But he does good damage. It's mainly that sub DPS type of stuff you got. And when you have just like a baseline, where was it? A 30% damage boost, right? That is, in my opinion, good. I think being able to do damage off field is just something you really can't like go wrong with. And his damage is quite good alongside that. His ult is 900%, right? Which is actually quite nice. And applying a lot of bleed, especially next to Ikkaku, is definitely a W. Now, next up, we got Sajin. So, of course, makes sense that the SSRs or 5 stars are in tier 0 and tier 0.5. I think next ones to go down will be Sajin and Yoruichi. If we were to rank them, I think they would be the worst. I feel like the other ones are definitely better, which I think does kind of speak to the fact that orange is in a bit of a spot, in my opinion. I did use them. Now, I will say they were not as built as my red team, but I feel they were just a bit clunkier. That's the way I'd explain it. So he also has a ultimate that's transformation, and it goes into his big form, right? It goes into his big form for the Tengen Myo. Now, he does give, I think that's a damage increase. Or maybe a speed. I don't remember what exactly that was. But yeah, these field skills all have a 30% damage boost, which kind of baseline makes it very good. But he does take a lot of time on field, because in his ult, you kind of want to stay in there for a while, because he does a lot of big attacks and you can't be damaged, which sometimes is needed. And then also he has he has a field skill, which is kind of like the off skill you could use. And then also he has like the actual ult inside of it. So there is that, right? He is quite good damage. I feel in my opinion, from what I used, I feel like Kaname's was a bit higher, but you know, I don't think it's bad. I just think that probably it's the third unit, the problem for this team. I would say so. I feel yellow, you know, I like it more. I think it's just Ikkaku is the better main DPS compared to Yoruichi, so that's probably it. But still. Now, next up, the 4-star that goes into tier 0.5, in my opinion, is Rukia. Especially because blue is very lackluster. These are the only 3 blue units in the game. But even with Toshiro, I really like Toshiro with Rukia. So Toshiro is the next unit that's coming out. But since we don't have the like updated kit, right? It's been a while. Maybe we do. Actually, I don't know, but I didn't get to use him, right? I'm not going to rank him until he's out, or until we're close to him being out, right? So Rukia is actually quite good and has that field skill, right? So do they not? Yeah, so the field skill has a lot of different types. Now, what's really good with Rukia is it's all types of team damage, right? So this means you could run her off mono, which I think gives her a lot of value. You have to keep that in mind, where I think in this case, I am ranking because also she gives damage off mono, where the other ones were on mono, right? So that is something. She works on all types of teams, so I think you're going to definitely want to have her. And she also applies frozen, a lot of frozen, which is good. And having damage reduction is good, right? Is good. There's resistance lower, damage reduction, healing. So it's like having these things is very nice. You might not think you need it, but I think having damage reduction for some of the harder fights will be good. Obviously, you could fix that with skill, but I'm not trying to rank like the top like 1% of players, right? Especially because this is a mobile game. Since it's also mobile, I think I'm going to take into account some of the worst players, right? I'm definitely going to do that, but I think you should play this game on controller or keyboard, on LD player, which I'm going to have down below. But yeah, definitely think it is actually quite nice. I do like the freezing, and it's off field, so it's nice, especially if you don't have Kisuke. Sorry, not Kisuke. If you don't have Byakuya for red team, you're definitely using Rukia in that spot. Now, for the other tier 0.5 one, I think you could definitely make a couple arguments, but I'm putting Yachiru. This, I think, might be a bit controversial to the people who played, but I do want to explain myself before everyone gets mad. And I think I have one very simple reason, is that she takes like no on time, like she's on field for like no time. Basically, she has this spectating mode, which spectating is going to give a damage increase, right? And it does seem like it's not restricted to mono. So that's another huge thing. But essentially, she's not taking field time for pretty much any time, right? She uses her E, ult, leaves, right? You're not using her normal attack at all. You're not trying to do any type of attack, right? Byakuya has on-field time, right? Rukia, I would say, takes a little more time, but not really. Kaname definitely. So does Sajin. Yachiru doesn't. So once you have the spectator up, 20% attack boost, there you go. That's it, right? So there is that. And yeah, there's also this. So there's like different things that are going to make inspiration better. So overall, and then also this, right? So there's like a bunch of different things. So I would say personally, because of the fact she's not on field a while, and because it's mono, I'd say she's tier 0.5, but I think that it's not that deep, right? Tier 1, tier 0.5, you're still going to end up using her. So there is that. Now, next up, I think we're done with tier 0.5. So let's go into tier 1. Now, Uryu, actually, I mean, I've seen him do pretty good. I think on, I don't remember which server, people were using him to kind of speedrun. And essentially, I mean, logically, you want to know why? Well, I mean, obviously getting dupes is probably easier at the beginning, but he has a field skill. So with the field skill, all team types damage, right? Increased. So immediately that is always really good. I think field units can't really be bad. That's the way I see it. Now, his own damage isn't horrible, but I'd say just having a field attack does make it that he's good. I would just say, I'd say Kaname's better, which is why I'm putting Uryu there. But a tier 1 unit could probably be meta on some team, right? That's just kind of my thoughts. But he has a field attack, so it's good. Now, Nemu, you know, because we're, like I said, ranking the average player, I think she's going to be a bit worse. I'm not going to lie, it took a while for me to understand her kit, but she has different modes. With the different modes, she's going to be giving different buffs. Problem is, you do need a lot of field time for her sometimes because she needs to do attacks to be able to allow herself to get the ult, right? But then she does give a lot of different damage boosts. I think here it's a damage boost. Yeah, so damage boost on the ult and no field skill. But if I remember correctly, she gives a bigger damage boost. And I swear there was a bit more. I would need to double check it. Yeah, I think it's here. So yeah, there is this. So I think that's a bit of damage reduction. And yeah, I would definitely say because like she's quite simple, like she takes more field time than someone like Yachiru, but she does give these damage boosts. And also we have to consider no one else really to use for orange yet, but I think she will be replaced. I think there's going to be some fine tuning we're going to need to do in terms of using Yachiru, but I would like to say maybe in some cases like Rukia or sorry, not Nemu, not Yachiru, Nemu. If I was saying Yachiru, I meant to say Nemu. I think Rukia and Yachiru in some cases will be better than Nemu on orange, so keep that in mind. Next up, Orihime. I would like to put it in tier 1. I think healing for your kind of average player is okay. I don't rate it that highly. I think that it's all right, especially since Rukia is going to do some healing sometimes. Not that needed. So, you know, that is... Oh, is the... Okay, yeah. So, you know, blocking debuffs, I don't really care. HP heal is cool, but mainly it's just, you know, damage, 25% boost is nice. You know, there is that. Tsubaki's assistance. Okay, so it's just, you know, it's only a 10-second boost after you have to swap into Orihime and then swap into another unit. But having this is nice, right? 25% for 10 seconds is nice, but 10 seconds is low, which is why I think she's on the lower end of tier 1, but she does have value, which is why I think she's there. Now, Shikai Ichigo could be a good DPS replacement instead of Bankai Ichigo. But, you know, overall, I don't think he's like anything super crazy, but he does have decent multipliers and he does have a lot of different kind of charged attacks and he has good range. So it's like, you know, there are some things with Ichigo. I use them for a bit. I just don't think he's anything crazy. Now going on, Ururu, could be good, right? I think damage wise is good, but only because we don't have Toshiro yet. So I think she's going to stay in tier 2 for a while. She has like a rocket launcher, which she uses. It's pretty fun. It's pretty fun. I don't really have anything crazy to say about it. I don't think it's like super duper crazy, but you know, Ururu is pretty decent. I think early game, like you could use her. Now, Renji could do good damage. Problem is he's kind of stationary for a long time. So that's like my main problem is there's a lot of stationary time because he like does good damage, but you have to play in a certain way, I'd say. Pretty sure it's this one. I'm not really too sure, but I'm pretty sure it's this one that it's like kind of makes it so you're kind of just stationary while doing damage. So in those cases, it's not amazing, especially if you're trying to like, you know, parry, dodge, etc. Next up, Chad. We'll put Chad here. So it's like, at this point, we're kind of reaching like mech units. I think he does, like he heals on ult and he does do like, he does consume HP and then heal on ult. But, you know, in some cases that could be dangerous, but not really, you know, too insane. But it's basically, he's just doing damage. I don't really see him being too crazy, you know. It's like, cool. If we see anything, maybe after launch, I just don't see him being that good, you know. And then afterwards, pre-Shikai Ichigo, just regular Ichigo, is okay. I mean, clearly the Shikai, like, they're going to make Shikai better than this version. He's alright. I don't really see him being too crazy. I don't know. There's not really much to say. He's kind of a basic unit who does damage, right? Like, that's kind of it. So I do think I'm putting him in tier 3, and that kind of makes the tier list. So this is it. Let me know what you think. I think that, you know, there could be some changes. I think you could say Yachiru goes down. You could say maybe that Shikai goes down. Maybe Renji goes up in some cases. I think you could make the argument for Byakuya up. You could make the argument for Yoruichi down, right? There's a couple things that could change. But, you know, I think it's a bit too early for those fine-tuning parts of the tier list. But I'm pretty happy with this. So I do hope to see you guys for the live stream, which I might be live streaming by the time you're seeing this. Besides that, I'm done. It's been good. See you in the next one, and good luck on launch.